Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. Alright, what's going on everyone? Welcome to episode 251 of the Proven Knowledge Podcast, and today is kind of a unique, special, kind of special episode, because I'm going to be flying solo today, no guests today. I did this one other time on episode 100, which was in 2022, I believe. So it's been a few years, and that was more to kind of celebrate, doing 100 episodes. We kind of did a recap, and I remember, not being able to book a guest that week, so I kind of just did that as a substitution. And it's kind of similar situation this week, but a little bit different because we're not celebrating any big occasion. But we had a couple guests lined up kind of back to back that both ended up having things come up. Not really emergencies, but more of just things life related. And I totally understand. And I'm still looking forward to getting those individuals on the show very soon, hopefully within the next few months. But I kind of figured, instead of stressing myself out over having to get a fill-in, I would just kind of fill in myself today and use this opportunity to kind of check in with all the listeners out there, everybody that's been supporting the show, either since the beginning or since the top of this year, whenever you joined. If this is your first episode, I do apologize because this is not really what it usually is. I'm usually the one asking the questions to people, doing that sort of thing. But, I've kind of been on this kick, especially the last couple of years of, not really trying to force things. And I felt like, this week I wanted to, kind of do what the universe was calling me to do, which I felt was just take it easy for a minute, kind of just lay back and understand that I've put in a lot of work on this show, and every once in a while you kind of just need a little reset, not a huge reset. And this isn't by any means the end of the show either. I think it's good to just give yourself grace now and then, and sometimes things don't work out and we have to kind of adjust accordingly. But again, I wanted to take this opportunity to just kind of check in with everybody, and that's kind of what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk a little bit about, my own music, something that I haven't really got to touch on in this show, for one reason or another, mostly because I've never wanted to make this show about myself. I've always wanted to make it about the guest, asking them their questions, giving them the platform. But I also think that there's nothing wrong every once in a while with, giving yourself that platform too. And I'm not going to give you my whole life story or anything like that. I've been on a lot of podcasts as a guest, so you can go check those out. If you want to hear like my story, how I got started, all that stuff, that's not what I'm going to do today. I'm going to more give kind of what I've been up to recently, music related, and what you can expect kind of for the rest of the year too. And then I'm also going to kind of touch later on Proven Knowledge, the brand, the label, some updates, exciting things we got coming up for everybody. So not just the podcast, but, launching new endeavors, all that sort of thing. So I'm excited, but, kind of to start off, I guess with myself musically, it's been quite an active year so far in 2025. And I think I've been really, really super blessed to be able to work with collectives again, lo-fi collectives, just different labels that have given me the opportunity to be featured on different compilations and putting out singles and whatnot. I had the chance to work with Brunch Collective, who is an awesome collective out of Arizona. Corey Wade, great producer. He runs that collective. I've been trying to work with them for like a year and finally was able to land a track called Bottomless on their Atlas compilation, which I thought was really awesome. So I'm excited to keep working with them moving forward. Hopefully I can get some more releases with them. True School Records is a more of a boom bap based collective, and I was on their Back to Boom Bap compilation as well in February, which was cool. You're definitely going to keep working with them too. And that's just something I want to keep doing because it's really kind of opened the doors for me to expand my listenership, mostly through like Spotify and Apple Music. But it just allows you to get a lot of music out there that you kind of have just sitting around in your hard drives, and that's something I want to just keep doing. It's just keep being consistent, continue to put out music that I'm proud of, and work with great people and great groups too, and do a lot more collaborations. I released Proof of Concept, an EP with Jalen Williams, who we had on this podcast at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, somewhere in there. But Jalen and I, we've been working back and forth the last several months. I think for, probably 7-8 months, just doing different ideas. And that EP kind of just came super organically, which I think was great. And I hope people enjoy it. It's kind of a combination of, trap mixed with a little bit of modern hip hop, other styles of modern hip hop. But I'm excited to see what we do moving forward because he's an incredible instrumentalist. He plays piano. God, I can't even think of all the instruments he plays. He plays at least like 3 or 4 instruments. And I've already approached him about doing even some slower stuff, maybe some jazz-infused music very soon. I'm looking to start groups, little subgroups, not really bands per se, because I've never been a big fan of, making the group the permanent thing. I like to kind of make groups and do projects and then come back to it at a later time while I'm still doing my own individual stuff. But those are some of the ideas collaboratively that I've had, and so far, the collaborations have been super cool. Whether it's with an artist like Tommy G, who, again, you guys are probably familiar with if you've heard his episode of this show, 2 episodes actually. We just got to talk about Setbacks a few months ago, the EP that we did. But I think it's just working with the people that I feel good about working with, and it just, like I said, it feels organic, it feels natural. So that's really what I aim to keep doing, and I'm looking to work with more producers this year too. I've already got in touch with a couple awesome producers out there, so hopefully we can make something happen real soon, but we'll just have to see. Again, I'm not trying to force anything, really just trying to let everything come to me in the most organic way possible. So that's kind of what it is. But as far as like my music itself, what I'm doing on a solo tip, 2 projects this year, 2 albums, 2 10-track albums are done, ready to go. And I've dropped a few singles from the first album called When Love's the Motive. And that album is dropping in April on Even exclusively, which is a platform where you can put out music and let people hear it in advance. It's kind of a pay-to-listen type platform, almost like Bandcamp, but a little bit different. I've liked the structure of that platform a lot. I used it for my last album called Unknown Advantage as well. We had a great, successful release. I was proud of how that went. So I'm going to be doing the next couple albums there as well. But April 25th, it's going to be exclusively on that platform. And by the time this episode's out, I think it might be pretty close to that time. So definitely, look into that. Go to my social media. Primarily, I'm on Instagram at Anthony Church Music, and you'll see all the info about it. It'll be in my bio. It'll be probably pinned to the top of my profile. One of the 2 videos I made for it. But basically, you're going to get access to the music. You'll be able to hear the album about a month before anybody else. And you'll get access to some exclusive merchandise too. We did a cool shirt and hoodie this time around. And yeah, I'm just excited for people to hear it. But overall, the concept of the project is it's my take on, it's almost like my take on a fusion of neo soul, R&B, and a little bit of hip hop as well. But it's mostly inspired by love songs, and that's kind of the whole idea of the project itself. It's really a project that, what was inspired by kind of the early 2000s sound with neo soul infused music, but just super chill, and it also incorporates that lo-fi element a little bit, but in my own way. I don't think I've ever really conformed to a strict sound. I kind of just like to blend things together and see what comes out of it, and this project is no different. But yeah, I'm just excited to put this one out. I think it's going to be super cool. Initially, the title itself was for an EP that I was working on that didn't really come to fruition. It was going to be an R&B EP, but it was going to have artists featured on it. It was going to be kind of like a compilation, like a mini compilation with some different people. I had Jay Foster, Janessa Nicole, I forget who else. Probably a couple other people that have even been on this show that you're probably familiar with. I had, conversations with them. It just never really came to be. They had other things going on. They had other commitments. So basically what I did was, when I decided to do more of these longer projects, I kind of just took that title and was like, let me just do an instrumental project with this, because I love the title. And the title is actually inspired by a lyric from Stally, who's one of my favorite MCs. And for the life of me, I cannot think of which song it is, but it's a song on Reflection of Self, The Head Trip, which is a project he did in 2019, produced by Jansport J, one of my favorite producers. And I forget which song, and I forget the context of the bar, and I don't want to misquote it. But if you're one of those people that's into lyrics, definitely research that, because I think there's probably like 10 songs on that project, and I feel like it's definitely one of the ones that I still play a lot from that album, but it stuck out to me a lot. And I think I just remember hearing that, and I was like, that would be a cool name for a project specifically. And to me, that just kind of means, when you're doing something out of love, it's a lot easier to push through the hard times. You know what I mean? No matter what it is. So I kind of correlated it to your passions. Like, if you're passionate about music or art, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs in trying to pursue that, but you're going to keep going because you love it. And that's really the focal point of everything we do in life. We do things at our best when we're passionate about it, when we actually care. Whether it could even be a real relationship. And that's kind of the parallels I've tried to do in the marketing for this project, is like, even if you don't make art, or you don't have anything that's you're that passionate about, think about it in terms of the relationships you have with other people, and how much that means to you, and what it would be like if that was gone, the absence you would feel. I've always looked at both the same way, whether it's a person or something else. If you feel strongly about it, you're going to fight for it. You're going to do everything it takes to make it work. So that's really what this project is about. And I kind of just wanted to make music and put together 10 instrumentals that reflected that. So hopefully you guys can hear that and appreciate it. Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. Again, I'm never one that likes to shove my music down people's throats, but I will always say, like, you know, I give myself enough credit to say I would recommend, you know, you giving it a listen, especially if you're someone that just likes to listen to tracks that you can just throw on and enjoy your day. You can go clean dishes, you could go vacuum, you could clean your bathroom, like whatever you want to do. That's pretty much the type of music that I'm making by myself, the stuff that I put out on my own. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, if people call my stuff kind of boring or just kind of like chill or whatever, that doesn't offend me. You know what I mean? That's kind of the point, honestly, is like, it's just background music at the end of the day. My stuff doesn't really, it's not going to blow your mind. You know, there's not a lot of transitions. There's not a lot of dropouts or crazy effects going on. It's just to the point. But hopefully it makes you feel something, you know, whether it's, you know, a good memory, kind of a sad memory, whatever it is. Hopefully it makes you feel something. And that's really the common goal for all my music at this point. And that's really kind of where I'm at in my journey. I think I'm 9 years into making music. I've made a lot more music in the last few years, and I put out a ton more on my own. And that's really what I aim to do from here on out, is just give people something meaningful, something that they can kind of take something away from. So I just hope you guys can get something out of it if you decide to listen. But like I said, April 25th, it'll be out on Even. That's the name of the platform. So if you want to pay to hear it early, go ahead. Support is always appreciated. But if not, it will be on all streaming platforms in May. I forget the exact date, but it's at the end of May. It'll be on all platforms. So you can just have a listen on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you use. But that one's coming out very soon. And then the next one, I'm not going to reveal a ton about. But in the fall, I'm going to be dropping another album and doing a similar rollout. But it's going to be a fall-themed album. Very laid-back, chill. Has some melancholy vibes for sure. But it's very reflective of the season, and the theme behind it I really enjoy, and the art behind it I love. So I can't wait to unveil that, but I'm not going to go into it today. But be on the lookout for that. Shortly after this album rollout ends, I'm going to be starting that one in the second half of the year. And that's going to be a lot of cool things too, but I already have, you know, the majority of that pretty much done, completed as well. So both these albums are ready to go, and I'm just thrilled to be able to put out 2 in 1 year. It's a lot of work, but I think it's worth it, and I believe in both of these projects. And yeah, just very excited for those. So that's pretty much the updates with my music. Because again, you guys probably hear during the intro, I always say, you know, I'm a music producer, but I don't really harp on that in the actual podcast. You know, I'm not going all in to promote my music at the end of every episode. I'm not saying, go do this, buy whatever I'm putting out today, because I do that on other platforms. My social media, YouTube, I do plenty of self-promotion, but I've always viewed this, you know, this platform, this show, as a platform for others, give others a voice. But like I said, if it's just me today, I might as well use my voice a little bit to help promote what I'm doing. So like I said, if you feel inclined to go check out that stuff, definitely do that. My album Unknown Advantage, which came out in 2024. If you've been following my social media, my YouTube, I've been pushing the vinyls a lot. We still have, at the time of this recording, about 80 copies remaining of the vinyl. That's going to be on my Bandcamp. If you want to go check that out, you want to get a copy, definitely do that. I might give away some more very soon. I don't know. But I still have a ton of boxes of vinyls ready to go. So that's another thing, you want to check that out, go ahead. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I'm working on myself. But I definitely want to, before I get out of here, touch on some of the exciting things surrounding Proven Knowledge, the brand, what we're going to be doing for the next, for the rest of the year, but also moving into next year too. I'm already looking ahead a lot. So the big thing is pretty much launching, not essentially making this a label officially at this point, because I want to preface this. We're still not signing anyone. We're not building a whole artist roster or anything like that. It's not going to be that. But we are officially going to be releasing music with artists under the Proven Knowledge name. Obviously, a couple years ago, we did the compilation album, Forms of Escapism. Awesome album. Jay and I had a great time putting that together. It was a lot of work. But like I mentioned earlier, I have been working with Lo-Fi and other beat collectives the last year or so. So I've really kind of studied what they do, how they run their platforms. And a lot of it is they pretty much give people the opportunity to submit demos of fully finished songs for consideration to be released under their collective. And we're pretty much going to be running this one the exact same way. So essentially, you're going to be able to send us these have to be fully finished songs. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that too. Mixed, mastered, completely finished songs. We're not going to be doing any of that on our end. So you're going to have to do that through whatever means you have. If you mix and master your own stuff, go ahead. If you have an engineer, go that route. Whatever works, that's the route you're going to have to go. They need to be fully finished songs. And they also need to be songs that have not been released yet by you. So they can't be a re-release. They can't be anything that's already out there in the universe. It has to be unreleased. And it has to be something you only want to release through us. So you can't release it again later on your own. It's just through us. So there's a lot of stipulations to it. The structure of how we're going to be doing it is 70% to 30% artist royalty splits. 70% kept by the artist. So you are going to get to keep 70% of your streaming royalties, which is over half of, do the math. It's over half of the royalties overall. You're going to get to maintain ownership, and you're also going to get to maintain ownership of your master recording, all your publishing. Everything is still going to be yours. We're not taking any of that stuff. So again, the only thing we're taking, 30% of the royalties, which in the grand scheme of things, not a ton of money. That's pretty much all we're asking for. That's pretty much the guidelines to submitting to us for consideration. But basically, we're going to have, which we already do at the time of this recording, we already have it. It's the demo submission form. You're going to be able to fill that out. It's going to ask you a series of questions, and then, send us your tracks. We're mostly looking for hip hop and R&B, as well as instrumentals from producers. But we'll listen to anything. I mean, I'm going to be listening to a lot of this stuff. I might have Jay help me out too. So, that's kind of the goal. I kind of want us to be the ones to make the final decisions on what we want to release and what we don't. But singles, EPs, albums, whatever you have in mind, if you want to release it with us, you want to release music with proven knowledge, the opportunity is finally here. So I'm going to have all this stuff pretty much attached to the podcast now. So I'm going to put the demo submission link in the description of the podcast so you don't have to go anywhere else. It'll be on every episode from here on out. So, if you hear this later on, just look in the description and you'll be able to fill out that form and send us whatever you want. And we're going to keep submissions open for a while. I don't think we're ever going to close them. I think they're just going to always be open. But I'll also probably adjust it based on what we do with full albums moving forward. And we're still going to be doing compilations. We haven't discussed specifically a plan for the next compilation, but I definitely want to aim for next year. That's really where my mind is right now. Knowing what I'm doing on my own, I want to get that next one rolling next year for sure. So that is going to be another opportunity. If you want to be a part of the compilation, we're obviously going to be doing the compilation more along the lines of what we did with Forms of Escapism, where we're more hands-on with that. We're going to be crafting that more on our own. So you probably won't be sending us finished songs. You're going to be sending us, verses, beats, ideas, whatever. And then we're going to be piecing that together. So that's more of, there's a lot of legwork to that. But as far as just the normal everyday submissions, as long as they're finished, unreleased material, send them over and we'll check them out. And chances are, I trust that everybody that listens to this show is relatively good at making music and relatively good at what they do. So I feel like I'm not just going to get a bunch of garbage music sent to me. I feel confident that you guys make really high quality stuff. And I'm excited to listen. We've already reached out to a lot of the past guests of the show, so they already know about it. But if they don't know, or if I forgot to reach out to certain people, hopefully this will help spread the word that that's a thing. And I'll be talking about it on social media and the Proven Knowledge page as well, my page and the Proven Knowledge page. But yeah, that is what is going to be coming up very soon. I mean, by the time this episode's out, most likely I will have already announced it. So, I'm just trying to make sure that everybody knows about it. Just really, like I said, spread the word about it. So yeah, very excited to get that chapter of Proven Knowledge started and start releasing a lot more music under the name, and just hopefully it allows artists to get their name on another platform other than just the podcast, and allows people kind of an extra layer, like you guys as the listeners. You can, if you hear an episode by an artist, the goal is to then go to our Proven Knowledge Spotify or Apple Music and hear that artist on a track, and then you can then go to their back catalog and start checking out everything else too. So it's just another way to kind of connect the listeners and the artists together and just keep building that community. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. Very thrilled to get that going. Other than that, like I said, this particular episode is a special one. We're still going to be doing episodes every week. I already have a ton, probably the next 2 months lined up with guests. So don't worry, this is not the end of the podcast or anything like that. I want to preface that again, because this might throw some people off. Like, oh, he's just talking to himself this week because nobody's here. But again, things happen, life happens, and again, I felt that instead of just having another week where I didn't interview anyone, I wanted to kind of use this as almost a little pit stop on the journey to just give you guys some updates on what's been going on with me, what's been going on with the brand, and what we're going to be doing from here on out. So next week, be back again. Brand new episode with an awesome guest. Obviously, I'm not going to name who the guest will be, but a lot of guests already booked that I'm very excited to talk to. And like I said, the couple people that we were going to have on the last few weeks, we'll get them on in the near future too. But I hope you guys got something out of this. If anything else, it was more of like a little news update for the brand. But again, I want to say to everyone, thanks for listening. We're at 251 episodes, which means before you know it, we'll be at 300, and I'll be very excited. And who knows, maybe that'll be the next time you guys hear from me on this type of platform, this type of format, in this kind of way. But until then, thanks again for checking out what we're doing here with the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Like I said, follow me on Instagram at Anthony Church Music. I almost said my other old username because I'm so used to saying that over the years, but it's now Anthony Church Music on Instagram for all the updates, everything else. Tune into the Twitch stream as well. Every Tuesday night, it's twitch.tv/AnthonyChurch24. I've been doing awesome workshops every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So tune in for that if you want some more in-depth content. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I could keep going forever, but we're at about half an hour now. So thanks for, listening to this little unique episode for 251. But we'll see you next week on 252. And again, have a safe week, all that good stuff. Blessings, abundance, everything else. We'll see you guys next time.